Hey everybody, this is Tony and I'm here today with a special guest, none other than the legendary, phenomenal singer, Miss Gina Thompson. How are you today?
I am so blessed. Thank you so very much for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you
A-
so much for asking.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. My
Now,
pleasure.
of course, the world, if not the world, most people know you as a singer, of course. In the summer '96, your single, "The Things You Do," had
Mhm.
everybody jamming and singing along to your words and your lyrics. And you were pretty big in the world for that single when it came out. Uh, and a lot of people wondered what happened to Gina Thompson. That became like a quiz show question.
Really,
But recently we saw you do DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic. I believe that was last year or either the year
it
before.
was
And
last year, 2021. You're right.
right, right. So, and a lot of people were so excited to see you and to see you back on the scene because, for like I said, for years, so many people ask, "What happened? What happened? Where is she? What happened?" You know. So, how? Let's first talk about that, and then we'll go back to the beginning and everything. But how was it for you seeing the response from people from doing that and in process doing it? How was it?
Pastor Mike, we are referring to, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. It was first off, it was absolutely a blessing. It was a phenomenal experience. It felt great. DJ Cassidy was super awesome to work with. His crew was, very, very professional. It was very fun.
Mhm.
Reuniting or reconnecting with Missy was also awesome. So the experience was great, and it just made me further realize how much I do miss the music world, because I, as had stopped for a long time, and I'm sure we're going to get into that aspect a little bit
Yes.
later. But it was truly, truly amazing to be able to be a part of that journey. And I words cannot even exemplify, how much joy it brought to me. It was right on time. Um, so yeah, it was a great experience. And like I said, just working with others was
Yeah.
also phenomenal. So thank you.
Yes. Of course, of course. Let me tell you how funny things work and how good, God is and how things just fall in your lap. Um, and people like, it's a coincidence or is this? But literally the day before we were supposed to do the original interview, I was on TikTok scrolling and your son ended up coming on my For You page with the video of you because
Okay.
everybody was doing the trend saying you were raised by this person, but I was raised by this person. And then they show the pictures of the person they were raised by, especially if it's somebody famous.
Yeah.
So I seen him on my page and I said, isn't this crazy how literally we're supposed to do this tomorrow and her son comes up on here now? Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
baby. That's my firstborn. And he's definitely working on his project.
Yes.
Uh, he's a writer and a rapper.
Hmm.
So and he has a manager as well, and he's diligently grinding, they call it. He's
Right.
definitely working hard to get his thing off the ground as well. And I'm super proud of him because he's just persevering.
Yes, awesome. I'm glad that he's taken up his mother's talents as far as music is concerned. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times when we see industry parents, a lot of
Mhm.
people feel like the children automatically should sing or should dance or should be in
Yeah,
entertainment,
yeah, yeah.
which is not always the case though. But
Right,
it's a
right.
good thing when they get the trait, but some don't want to use it. I know, like for instance, Coco from SWV, her son can sing, but she said no, he's going to be a dentist.
He's gonna be a what?
A dentist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
if that works, it works.
Yeah. Well, I also have another son, and speaking, of that,
Hmm.
as far as Coco and her son, I have my middle son,
Okay.
um, and he's away in college now, and he can sing
All
and
right.
he writes, and he's actually him and my oldest son are actually going to kind of help co-write on some of my future work, and I know that his thing is, he's like, Mom, I want to be a doctor in sports medicine or anesthesiologist. So, so do so absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally understand that. Yep.
But it's a
I just,
beautiful thing to have that foundation, or to have that to come back to. If you decide to go into music, you already got something. So I'm all for people saying, hey, I just want to go to school to do this. Like, we can try music later, but let me just do this right now.
certainly,
Yeah.
absolutely supportive of, just be successful, stay positive, and stay out of the nonsense, and
Right.
just keep it moving. Whether you want to, like my oldest son, if you want to go that route, you go that route, and just be mindful of these things. They know what we've talked about. And then with my middle son, and then I have my daughter, and she's unique in her own way. She doesn't do the singing, but she
Right.
does her own thing, and she wants to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
So it's all good. It's all
All
good.
right. All three are still stars, though. I love it.
Oh, there you go.
I
There
love
you
it.
go.
I love it. So now let's talk about some music, though.
Okay.
Of course, you started out in the 90s. Your first album, Nobody Does It Better, came out in 96.
Yeah.
And like I said, The Things You Do came from that album. But before that, let's talk about how you got signed. And from what I understand, you and your brother, I think it was, happened to know somebody that knew somebody that knows Rodney Jerkins.
Yeah.
Was that right?
Yeah, for the most part. So
Okay.
basically, what happened was, my brother
Okay.
was the one who kind of like took me in the studio to kind of, adapt into that singing world altogether. So
Okay.
fast forwarding, um, my brother was like, sis, you should sing. I was planning on trying to go to college. I wanted to be a nurse at the time, so um, but we started moving towards the music thing. So my brother-in-law and
Okay.
and a cousin of mine knew of Rodney Jerkins, and so basically they took me to Rodney's home in Pomona, New Jersey at the time,
Mhm.
and then I pretty much sang for Rodney and his father right on the spot. They wanted to sign me, and so shortly after, I did sign to their production label with his father being my manager.
Right.
And then within a matter of weeks later, several labels were interested in signing me, and we decided to just narrow down or buckle down and go with Mercury at Polygram at the time. And even prior to that, getting that deal, like once Rodney had signed me, going back a little bit, he and I worked on pre-production at his house, and we almost basically recorded a whole album just right at his house. So
Mm.
once I did get signed to Polygram, what I ended up doing was knocking the album out in no time, because we had so much stuff already done,
Right.
with pre-production. So when we went to record the album, like I said, it didn't take any time. And then once it was done, my A&R, who at the time was Bruce Carbone, Mr.
Mhm.
Steve was my assistant A&R, and Ed, I can't remember his last name, but it was the president or CEO of the company. But nevertheless, everyone agreed on the things you do.
Right.
And then pretty much Bruce was like, and Mr. C, they were like, this is there's a certain sound that's kind of out. And it was like that. I call it the total type sound
Yeah.
that worked,
Yeah.
Puff Daddy. So basically what happened was they wanted Puffy to work on the remix. He heard the song, he was all for it, and it went from there. And then Missy heard it when she did the finished product, and she wanted to get on it. And so it all went from there. In 96 the summer of 96, the single came out, and there it was.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful labor of love, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, the single itself, though, kind of took on like a life of its own, for in an aspect of your career. Just looking at things now, and even before, were you fully satisfied with that being the single for people to really say, this is what I know Gina Thompson for?
Good question, and I appreciate that question. No
Mhm.
one has really asked me that question. So I was for it because it was what everyone was saying and when I say everyone, my team at the time was saying, this is where we need to go. This is the sound that's out. So
Mm-hmm.
let's do it. So for that reason, yes, I was saying, okay, well then let's do it. I'm
Okay.
excited. I just want to make this happen and I'm believing in the heavy hitters.
Right.
So go ahead. But as far as the vocal list, Gina, no, that was not how I wanted the world to see me or
Mm-hmm.
hear me. But again, a lot of times it's what's happening at that moment, and people want you to, get there and break you in that way. So I just prayed on it and I just said, well, and moving forward, Lord, maybe we can get more songs out. So even with that being said, there was another song that I probably would have put out before that one that
Mm-hmm.
really showed somewhat of my style. But in honestly speaking, and I may be jumping ahead at this point,
That's okay.
my vocals really, even on the first album, I was learning so much, and I kind of was doing a lot of what everybody else wanted me to do.
Right.
But really, I'm rooted in gospel. I was brought up, raised in the church and things of that nature. And I'm not going to flip flop back to that. But for the most part, I had that gospel feel. And even prior to getting my first record deal,
Mm-hmm.
people that knew me, I was born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, went to, schools, et cetera, around here,
Right.
sang on church choirs, sang on gospel choirs in school. I did talent shows and people knew that strong, churchy type voice. So with that being said, going back to the album, the second album, which never came out, titled If You Only Knew, was
Right.
the album that I can say probably had a little, no, not a little, I'm underestimating. It had a lot more of the Gina, if you will. And I begin to find myself more. And also, I did a significant amount of writing on that album, and I had so much more control, So, yeah, the things you do wasn't really that vocal Gina, but I did it because it was what was happening.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
yeah,
And I only asked that just because I listened to a performance that you did doing the things you do, and then you did He'll Make a Way. Um, I'm listening to He'll Make a Way and I'm saying maybe this is where her heart really is, because she's excelling on this. The things you do was something that was like, of course, it was in hip hop / R&B style, but it wasn't necessarily vocally, you know,
mhm.
where you were in a space to
Showcase.
just belt out and sing. It was one of those like skip and hop songs that you
Yeah.
don't jam to per se. But
Uh-huh.
He'll Make a Way, listening to you sing that, it was like, oh, okay. Now I know that she can really sing, and I can tell this she really feels this. This is something that's coming from the inside.
You
It's
bet. You bet.
so that's the reason that I asked that question, because I could tell that singing that gospel, it was just like home for you.
Yeah.
Um, was that
Yeah.
something that you tried to push for eventually later on during the recording process, knowing, your background and things like that?
Mhm. You said, was that something or is that something?
Yeah, was that something you were trying to push for back then?
Um, no, honestly, excuse me, I really wasn't. It was more of like I said, just kind of going with the things, but at the same token, I knew where my heart still,
Yeah.
was and
Yeah.
or is. And for the most part, again, like you said, just doing, anything gospel, it was like home.
Yeah.
It was embraced. And then even on the second album, I worked with Montel Jordan's camp at that time. And Shep Crawford was a writer for Deborah Cox.
That's right.
How did you get, yeah.
Mhm.
So I had a similar song, and I mean, I was beat up for it too, though, but I had a similar song titled It Hurts. And boy, people were like, this sounds just like, Deborah Cox. But it still had its own spin, in my opinion. It really did. But anyway, that song, Turn Around, the Shep Crawford tracks was the one that showcased some vocals. And then
Mhm.
there was a gospel interlude that I had did as well. And again, you're able to hear, you're able to know that, man, that's her.
Yeah.
That's her. You know, that's, you can tell that's her root. And then
Mhm.
there's also, believe it or not, John B. I
Oh
did
yeah.
like, whew, I did like 3 tracks with him. So that vibe as well,
Mhm.
like I said, yeah, gospel is definitely there, but that vibe with John B, listen, oh my goodness, that was phenomenal, that whole experience. However, the entire second project, so very thankful for everyone that worked on that project.
Yes.
Everyone brought something unique to the project, and I felt like the collaboration was a good one. You
Mhm.
know, it was versatile. Some people may not like versatility. Some people may kind of want, maybe almost like the same and the same. I personally like the versatility because it
Absolutely.
showed a number of things. Okay, she can sound like this, she can sound like this. Some people may say, well, does she know what she want to sound like? Oh no, I do. Trust me, I do.
Right.
But I do what I feel to a track
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
But again, going back to that gospel, okay, it's only one way.
That's right. That's right.
so so it is what it is. And honestly, I am praying. Prayed, even have family praying that in moving forward, that I would absolutely love to do a gospel project.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
Absolutely.
would be awesome.
Yes.
Especially seeing the joy that you have just talking about it.
Oh
I
yeah.
think for a lot of us, it's not only Black people, but a lot of us as a whole, gospel is home for us. If you are, that kind of person.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely.
I know I need it, every day in the morning. I listen to some gospel, so before I get my day started,
Okay.
and then
I
later
hear
on
you.
in the afternoon, I have to switch over to R&B, and then we
Yeah.
start from there. So
You are
it
so,
it's
we're
home.
definitely one and the same with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I put it like this. I like to be honest with people, and my whole thing is it's not just about a religion or spirituality or any of that kind of stuff. It's just about having that connection and being able to be clear about what
Absolutely.
you're going into, uh,
Absolutely.
so that's why before I start my day, whatever I'm doing, it's normally about 7 in the morning that I start, and I just put it on some gospel music. Normally, it's probably the Northern Pace Sisters or something, from old school
Okay.
that I like, or the Clark Sisters or whoever it is, and that's it. I'm clear. I know whatever happens during that day, I'm all right. I can handle it.
I know that's right. I know that's right. I definitely feel you. There's sometimes there's some work days that I'm just like, I'm gonna go ahead and put this J Moss on for the
Right,
whole 8 hours.
right,
The whole 8 hours. And then, like you said, sometimes it's some days where, all right, go ahead and get blessed with the word
right.
through my music. And sometimes I even, when I do walks, I'll put a gospel hip hop on,
Hmm.
and it'll just move me. But for the most part, I get what you're saying. And sometimes you may put that R&B on a little bit later. But
Yeah.
even during Christmas time, I love to put that Christmas music on. But that gospel, it
Hmm.
will get played daily. I totally understand.
Yeah. It
Absolutely.
has to. It has
It
to.
has to. It has
Like
to. You said it.
it,
You
it's
said,
no
all
other
right,
choice.
don't start nothing now. You just start with it now.
It has to, because listen,
Amen.
I think people don't understand it, and I just told somebody this in the last interview that honestly, all music is connected. However you want to think about it, however you want to put it, but you take pieces of a song from each genre, and
Mhm.
put it into a song. Like I just told whoever that was I was interviewing, I can't think of it right now, but uh like for instance, if you think of Gladys Knight and the Pips,
Oh,
those are R&B songs that we're listening to and we're jamming to, but really they were country songs.
yeah.
So you don't
Okay.
think
Yeah, yeah,
about those
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of stuff. It's
Mhm.
all really connected, and a lot of the R&B artists take from gospel. Kirk Franklin even took it where he took Patrice Russian's "Haven't You Heard" to make.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's all connected in a way, but it's that true gospel that you get that feeling from. And don't get me wrong, because when I listen to R&B too, sometimes I get that feeling too, depending on what it is.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. I got you. Absolutely. And I think a lot of it too is, yeah, I mean, I know with myself anyway,
Right.
it's the singer. It's something in a vocal too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a
Mm-hmm.
vocal, and then and sometimes it's the track, you know,
Yeah.
the music. But a lot of times, like you said, with the R&B, like, I mean, honestly, like I feel like the R&B singer Joe and Charlie
Yeah.
Wilson,
Yeah.
you know, they phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
It's just something about the vocals, and just sometimes listening to them can just put me in that spirit. I mean, I don't say hallelujah or anything, but
Right. Right.
I just be like, woo, woo, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
totally get it. Music is just, it's beautiful, and it's so beautiful again when it's able to move you,
It is. It
you
is.
know. And that's definitely with, you know, with gospel. It's just, you, I mean, there's is just definitely in gospel music,
Yeah.
hands
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
You feel it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was amazed to see like Kanye, for instance, regardless of what people think of him personally. I was amazed to see what he did with SWV's Rain and how he flipped that and made that into a gospel song with his Sunday choir now. And I'm just like,
Well,
okay,
listen to that.
yeah, you got to hear it. You got to hear it. He
Okay.
totally, well, if you think about it, in a way it sounds, that way, but you have to flip some of the lyrics, of course. But it was like, okay, this is unexpected, but it made sense.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
made
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Awesome.
Just
Awesome.
those kind of things. It's just like, okay, I get it, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's it.
I also earlier, when what we were talking about as far as your sound and your music, and the reason I asked about gospel too is because I think about people like Denise Williams. I had her on here a few years ago, I think. And we talked about the moment where she was really like at the height of her career with, I think that was Let's Hear It for the Boy. And at the
Okay.
Grammy Awards, instead, she chose to sing God is Amazing and not that
Okay.
song, because that's what she felt she had to do because she
That's
wanted
it.
to give that back.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
I asked that question to see where you were with that kind of thing, because a lot of artists feel, my home is in gospel. I want to sing gospel,
Yeah.
but this is my avenue to make it where I need to go right now.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. A lot of times I kind of feel like just that,
Yeah.
like, sing a song or whatever. Believe it or not, I haven't sang in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if someone will say something for some reason, what always comes to me is thank you, Lord, you've been so good.
That's right.
You've been so good. And I
That's right.
say that because it not only is it gospel, but it's a personal connection that I have because of my life story.
Right.
The journeys that I've been through. And it's so simple, but it's so meaningful and so powerful. You've been so good to me. Oh my goodness. It's just so freaking moving
Yes.
to me. And I
Yes.
just want to say thank you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's just how I move it. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely can relate to that. Absolutely.
Wow. 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 Okay. I love that because, and the reason why is because honestly, one of the songs that I love to play is Walter Hawkins, "Thank You, Lord,"
Hmm.
and that song for me is just it, because that's really what I want to say every day.
Hmm.
No matter what I'm going through or whatever the situation is, or even if I'm not in a situation, that's really what I just need to say. Just thank you, Lord. That's it.
That's
It doesn't
it.
even have to be a
That-
worship, but
yeah.
that's what I need to say right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lord, I thank you.
Yeah.
Even when it's Lord, I just thank you.
That's
I'm telling.
right.
And I always, that just always comes to mind.
Yes.
With anything. And again, even if it's so simple, listen, I will sing it at a wedding if you want me to.
That's right.
Because I mean, even funerals too. Like it's just, and
Yeah.
again, it's very simple, but that song is just so meaningful. It
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
every day that we wake up, our families wake up, our loved ones. Thank you, Lord.
That's right.
You've been
That's
so
right.
good. And I just want to say thank you. I just
Yes.
want to say thank you. That's
Yes.
where I'm with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to be. I think people don't realize sometimes that without a test, there is no testimony.
Amen. Yeah.
So I'm always thankful for the things that I've had to go through that are bad. So
Okay.
you'll know what's good feels like,
That's it.
and you're able to praise a little bit different. You're able to have that, connection with God a little bit different because you know what you come through already.
Yeah.
It's nothing like having that as opposed to somebody who's lost or who have never, encountered something,
Mhm.
almost like a child. It's the innocence. They don't really
Sure.
know yet.
Yeah.
But when you've been through something and you feel like, oh my God, how am I going to make it through this?
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
you get to a place where later on you can look back and say, Lord, I know that was nobody but you because I
Nobody
couldn't
but
have made it out by myself.
but that's it. That's it without you. That's it. You better say it. You
Come on now. Come
you
on
start
now.
yeah, you just started. You started for real. It's so true. And I've actually said this in every interview that I've had. I
Yes.
give all thanks to God
Yes.
because where I've been, whew, and what I've gone through and what he saved me from,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, you better come on.
All right.
Let me listen. That's why I said I owe it to him. I owe
Yes.
that to him
Yes.
because it's definitely been challenging. And again, I am still standing, you know, because the good Lord said, my daughter, your work on earth just is not done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I need you to just stick around. And it was him. It was him that gave me that turnaround.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
believe
I'm
it.
and I'm still here
I
because of him.
believe it. And thank God for that. Matter of fact, you've rewritten the course of this.
I'm
So
sorry.
we're gonna come. No, that's fine. We're gonna come back to what we were talking about in a minute. But I want to talk about that because over your career, you talked about some of the downfalls and some of the other interviews, and we might touch on some of them today. But you talked about your frustration, and when you were in a place where basically nobody was really backing you, nobody was really helping. It was like, what do I do? Who do I turn to? And I heard you say that you went through a depression after the disappearance, pretty much, as well. Um, what was that time like for you when everything went silent? Is something that I want to ask because, and I'm only bringing this up because this is something personal to me, because I went through a depression as well. So, not because of those reasons, but I just want to hear from you.
Okay. It was a very dark time
Mm-hmm.
for me. I felt like my soul, my heart was just empty.
Mm-hmm.
I felt betrayed. I felt like this is not real.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
Am I not good enough? Where did I go wrong? Why? One day, everyone loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the next day, who the are you?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I just said, how can it just be so cruel,
Right.
vulturous?
Yeah.
So I really, really lost myself. I was so hurt. And I went into such a terrible state of depression
Mm-hmm.
where I tried to take my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my oldest son at the time. I didn't have, other kids. I didn't talk about this before.
Right.
But you know what? I honestly, Tony, I talk about it now because there are so many people out there dealing with depression. And for whatever reason that they may be dealing with
Mm-hmm.
that depression, I'm not here to judge no one. But what I will say is real. It takes lives, and people need to be able to talk about it, and their story can be a testimony or heal someone else, because just how someone may think that, oh, she got it so good,
Mm-hmm.
you need to hear my story,
Yeah.
because this is what happened. And now that I've opened up and I've shared it more, I am actually beginning to get more people, wanting to talk to me. And I'm even considering motivational speaking
You
and
should.
things along that nature, because, I know that I do music. I
Right.
understand that, but I want people to know that you're not alone,
Mm-hmm.
that is real, and and those things happen. So what do you do when you get to that point? I was so broke down to where I literally felt like just going to lay on a highway
Yeah.
and then just lay down and just say, I'm over it. I'm done. But God, I reached out to
Mm-hmm.
him, and I had realized that, Gina, you've been all along trying to fight these battles without him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You let him go. Gina, you know where you're from.
That's right.
You know how you were born and raised, and you know what you believe in.
Yeah.
You cannot fight battles without him. Gina, you've been trying to control all of this yourself, but you stepped away from him,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of ventured out into the world, and it was like, God, who? And I'm keeping it real.
Yeah.
This is how it was. And let me tell you, he will do, and I'm not saying this is everybody's story, but
Right.
he will do some things to you to get your attention, to let you know you're a chosen one.
That's
And
right.
I'm going to need you to understand that you need me.
All right.
You need me. So even at my lowest, he never turned his back on me. Even when I turned my back on him. Now, this is not a sermon now. Hold on.
Right. Right.
Okay. But when I turned my back on him, he still was there for me, and he saved me.
That's right.
When I can say the world let me down, well, who am I to the world? The world didn't make me. You're a commodity, Gina. But
That's
the
right.
man upstairs, him up there, he will never leave you nor
No
forsake
forsake.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you've done what you've done, he's still going to be there for you, open up, embrace you. But you got to let him in,
Right.
and you have to step out on faith. And when I got back to the root of it, I'm not going to say the depression went away, but
Right.
what I will say, I began to see things more clear, because I allowed God to basically help me and
Mm-hmm.
believe in him, and realize that you can't do this alone.
That's right.
You can't. Now, there are people in the world that, don't believe in God. I'm not here to judge no one, as I said to you earlier,
Right.
but I am here to tell you that the God that I serve,
Hmm.
the man that has saved me,
Hmm.
he's real to me, and
I
he's
know that's
real
right.
to many others. And I know, because so many things that I've gone through afterwards, when I begin to just let go and let God,
Yeah.
I realized that the journey became easier.
Mm-hmm.
It became
Mm-hmm.
easier. And I started learning that, Gina, you again cannot do this by yourself. You need to keep him there when it's good and when
And
it's,
bad. Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of us, we tend to, when it's good, Jesus, I thank you. Okay. But when it's bad, God, are you real? No, he's real.
Right.
But you
Right.
gotta, he real, but you got to keep in mind that maybe it's not in his will, or it's not timing for him.
Hmm.
So let go and let God. And I'm going to tell you, when I started doing that, I am so blessed right now. Whether I do another album or not, he still saved me.
That's
And
right.
I am still who I am because of him. I have a master's degree in nursing, and I am proud of it.
That's right.
I
Congratulations.
absolutely thank you so very much. And I've learned a lot from myself, for myself, for my family, for my loved ones. So even with this journey that I move forward in, yes, I am getting back in the studio, but I am being led by God. I'm being led by him. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, he'll put me in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
But he is leading this path.
Yeah.
And that's my story. And Tony, guess what? I'm sticking to it.
That's right.
That's what
That's right.
that's what I'm doing.
That's right.
So
But that's really a true testimony from your heart. And thank you so much for being open enough to share that. Because sometimes people don't understand that you as an artist is just as regular as I am, being a garbage truck driver or a teacher or the homeless person, whoever, because we're all human.
we
But
are
I
all
think
human.
we forget that sometimes when we see somebody on MTV or VH1 and we're like, oh my God, they look so, it's so wonderful and so glamorous and
So
so, they
problemless.
have a Hollywood mansion in Beverly Hills, and it's not always that.
Okay.
A lot of
Okay.
times it's not that.
Okay.
So I'm so glad that somebody like you can be open and honest enough to share that story, because I know it will help somebody. Like I said, when I first started doing the interviews, matter of fact, we talked about earlier, my cousin, when we first started in 2012, I was 16, I think, at the time. Excuse me. But many people didn't know. They saw me doing these videos with her, and I was just as lively and happy. But when I went home, I was in darkness.
Okay. I get it.
But nobody knew just the depth of what I was going through, because I had slipped into a depression. I didn't even know what it was.
Okay.
So I just woke up one day and I was just like, I gotta retreat, I gotta withdraw, I gotta stay in the dark. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was going to like Walmart, I would say. The doors of Walmart would open up and I would see all those people, and I was like, the anxiety just took over, and I was like, no, I gotta go back home. I can't do this right now. Like
Oh, wow.
that's how bad it had gotten, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. And
Mhm.
I had a friend of mine, matter of fact, when we were in middle school, she used to tell me all the time, like, oh, I'm depressed and stuff, but I never knew exactly what that entailed. I didn't know what,
Yeah.
you're not in those
True.
shoes.
Mhm.
Until you are in those shoes, you really don't know how somebody feels.
You don't. You don't. And I'm gonna tell you, if I may add, that's why again, there's no judge zone.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
the stigma that people have on mental health,
Yeah.
it is so hurtful.
Yeah.
It's so hurtful. And I know I mentioned to you earlier, with myself having a master's degree in nursing, I specialize in psychiatric nursing,
All
mental
right.
health. I love mental health because if the mind's not right,
That's right.
the body's not right.
That's right.
And let me tell you, and as you touched on earlier about, you know, people see the glamour and do all these things. How many artists and or celebrities have committed suicide?
Right.
And let me even touch on this. It's worse with the men. Why is that? Now, I'm not trying to turn and go to my, mental health class right now. I'm just going to say this real quick. But it's because a lot of times men are more silent and introverted.
Yeah.
Women, we speak out more. We're more vocal about these things. So you hear that crying out for help before it's too late. But the men are more, and this is statistic based, a lot of men are more successful in the committing the suicides or self-destructing or doing these things because I'm a man. I'm not supposed to cry and
Right.
I'm going to hold this in. Nobody's supposed to see me cry. Oh, I'm soft. The stigma needs to go.
It
You
does.
bleed, you and I, we bleed alike.
That's right. That's right.
We both have feelings and we have a heart.
Mm.
Your heart doesn't have any more arteries than mine. So it's
Exactly.
just like, you understand what I'm saying? Same thing with
Yeah.
our chemical imbalances in our brains, or balances, should I say.
Right.
We are all born and brought into this world the same. Now there's estrogen and testosterone, yeah. But as far as life and being hurt and mental health, it's no different with a man than a woman. And the stigma has to go.
Yes.
And like I said, such an advocate for mental health, physical too, for
Yes.
mental health. And if people speak out more, they can get help sooner, and they'll realize that I'm not in this alone.
Yeah.
So now talk to the next person. How did you handle that? And then you'd be surprised that, oh, okay. And sometimes that helps, I can go on. So we gonna move forward. And I'm answering your next question. Because listen, me on that and the word, forget it.
Listen, I understand. I understand. But it's wonderful, you know, that you're able to provide that insight as well to, and just talk about it, because like you know, years ago people didn't talk about mental health at all, really.
Oh,
A lot of times you would see somebody that had a condition that really knew something was wrong, and they still would deny it and say, oh no, it's just this, or oh no, it's just that. So
mhm.
I'm glad that people are starting to stand up and speak out to get help, and we can all converse, have conversations about what's
Ab-
really going on,
ab-
to help heal each other. That's the
Absolutely.
beauty of this whole thing.
Mm.
We're no different, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I do mentoring now.
Yeah.
So working on vocal coaching and mentoring, and it's on my business card.
Okay.
And I can send you my digital business card. It's actually on my IG. Of course,
Okay.
I'm trying to build that up as well because I'm still kind of new to that. But for the most part, I absolutely love doing the mentoring. You know, and I have a client that he started with me one time, and he's just like, oh, can I do the full package now? And I was like, God, just look at God. So my blessing is being a blessing to him
That's right.
and and to others. And so that'll speak for itself. You know, if you just get a couple of YouTube videos or affirmations from me, as long as it's positive and it did something well for your mind and your soul, that's a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm definitely trying to promote that as well, mentoring.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I hope
Yeah.
people definitely check that out too, because we need it.
Yeah.
It's, as much as people may not say, we need it.
Yeah.
And I just said this the other day, that sometimes you don't know what people are going through because they may not tell you,
Yeah.
but the literal words that you speak could be the end for them, or the encouragement that they need to keep going,
You
you
better
know. So,
That's it.
but
That's
sometimes
it.
we get caught up in life, and I'm mad with traffic, or I just
Mhm.
had a bad day, so I'm going to inflict it on somebody. Like, no, you got to think about what you say, though.
That's it. That's so it. You're so I can't say it any better. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. Just praying to God to just to use me. You know, let
yes,
his will
yes,
and whatever it is that I do, just allow him to just use me for his glory.
yes, yes.